It's very clear that we need to have individuals remain productive in the workforce longer. The financiers and the accountants will tell you that we need to do that to save Social Security. But we also need to have people work longer so that we have a large enough workforce to produce the goods and services that are going to be required. Now, how do you do that?
Wellstar Health System, a group of hospitals, nursing homes, and medical practices, is keenly aware of the demographic shift and what that could mean.
We are made up of over 12,000 team members. We have about 32% who are over the age of 50. Nurses in general are aging across the country.
About 1/3 of nurses in the next 10 to 15 years is planning to retire, which that's going to be a loss of knowledge.
What scares me about it is having the people to take care of the patients.
Today, Wellstar is an incubator for new policies and pilot projects aimed at extending the work life. A major source for their ideas? The people who work at Wellstar.
I love being a nurse. You bet. I plan to work to 75, 80 years old until they kick me out of there.
Frank McVeigh, a nurse at Wellstar's Kennestone Hospital, had every intention of working way beyond retirement age.
I do not buy into the golden years whatsoever.
But then life presented a different plan.
I sprained my left ankle, and the beds are quite heavy, and the patient in there was about 425 pounds. And that sort of started to put an end to my working on the nurse as a floor nurse.
Frank's story underscores a point. When work is physical, demands endurance, strength for heavy lifting, how can one be expected to work into old age?
If you're a construction worker, you may not be able to work 2 more years. It may be how many times you actually hammer. It's not like if you hammer carefully, you can work 2 more years. You may have kind of spent the physical energy that you have on the job already. If we could be flexible in how we design the job, we'd increase their possibility to work for a longer time.
Following his injury, Frank thought about this idea a great deal.
Frank came to me, and I'd worked with Frank and other older nurses on the unit that wanted to split shifts.
I spent about almost a year bending her ear in her office when she was my manager.
Frank was concerned about his ability to continue working. He just couldn't keep up with the 12-hour shifts.
We older nurses can't keep up, and we love our work. So one day I went in there and she said, "Why don't you do a research project?"
Frank was selected as one of Wellstar's first nurse research fellows and conducted the research under the mentorship of his old boss, Leanna Spiva. The study let older nurses speak about how they felt about their profession, their frustrations, and changes that would make their work easier.
The study was published, and then I presented it in New Orleans last year at the Southeastern Nursing Research Society.
Most importantly, the study resulted in changing the work environment and culture at Wellstar. Patient-nurse ratios were lowered, ergonomic equipment purchased, flexible shifts implemented, and a new electronic record system will be installed this summer. One of the most visible results? The user-friendly design of Kennestone's new hospital towers.
As a result of the study, we brought staff nurses in that actually had recommendations that they provided to the architect.
This is the new Kennestone 7 Blue West Wing. Each nurse has their own computer, their own desk. We don't have to compete with the doctors. First thing I'll show you the changes we made because of the nurse suggestions. As soon as we go in the room and leave for washing hands, our gloves are right here as opposed to on the other side of the wall. Everything was done to cut down on steps. Our computer system right here is against the wall, which is nice because we can talk directly to the patient. I don't have to sit down here and squat, which is much more comfortable and better on my back. All our sockets are at hip level as opposed to knee level before. We don't have to squat down and possibly injure our backs. I believe that it will extend the work life of the nurse, and she can pace herself better, so she will not be as traumatized every day at the end of the shift.
We have nurses that are working well into their 70s.
I feel healthy, I feel passionate about nursing still. When people say, you know, I thought you retired, I'll say no, pre-retirement. I'm preparing for the future, reinventing myself at this point.
The alternative, if we are not able to keep our more senior members of the team in the workplace, then we are at risk for what they're calling that brain drain, where we end up losing a lot of that mastery in that very experienced worker.
And you're working from 7 to 3:15.
If we can nurture them staying in the workplace and helping them choose to do that, our patients will benefit, but so will our younger workers.
Our motivation to keep bedside nurses to practice longer financially is a huge win. It costs a lot of money to train someone.
We found that the older the worker, the more highly engaged the worker.
Then the literature shows, I mean, you have better outcomes, less falls. It's the knowledge and expertise that they bring to the bedside. I mean, they have that intuition that maybe a new nurse would not have.
We tried to create an environment where you can choose to retire when it works for your life.
And we think it's, again, the right thing to do, but also very good business.
I forgot my cookies, but I brought some chocolate bars. Oh my God. Here, I didn't bring any cookies today. You gotta settle for the chocolate bar. I think that most people do enjoy working, especially, as I said before, nurses. They do not like to leave the profession. We love people.
Reluctantly, Frank retired last year.
After working on concrete floors for another several years, I just had to give it up because my ankle couldn't hold up. It was a hard, shall we say, way to accept change, but it did change my life, actually for the better, I think.
Though retired, Frank never left Kennestone Hospital or his work family.
Mary! Long time no see. How you been doing?
Frank still feels like he works on the cardiac unit, and he goes back frequently to visit the staff, and actually he's got a locker still there because he conducts research and helps me do data collection in our our intensive care units.
I'm still working as a volunteer, and I will continue doing so actually until they kick me out.